All right, so days after the explosion in the Bodija area of Ibadan, your state, families are still trying to pick up their lives after the horrible incident, which claimed the lives of 5 people, and some may even still be trapped under the rubble. This followed the recovery of some more body parts, which the Oyo State government confirmed are now undergoing forensic tests. And as the state continues recovery efforts, President Bola Tinubu has also ordered security operatives to fish out and punish those responsible. Governor of the state, Seyi Makinde, is also taking the same stance as he says those involved in the incident, directly or indirectly, will be punished. Olaide Oyewole has more.
Day after day, the rescue teams are not relenting as the responders continue efforts to rescue victims, pushing forward to reach ground zero in the comprehensive evacuation process. Survivors are still picking remnants of their possessions, with no choice left but to resign to fate and accept the current situation as their reality. Mr. Sunday Daniel, who lost his house and his wife currently receiving treatment, said he had lost property worth millions of naira to the disaster after escaping death by a whisker.
I'm coming from Awolowo Junction. Just remain like 3 minutes to reach our house here. You just see that there's a blast. When we got to the house, our wife already broke my leg. It's now in usage. The house help already died. We just see the corpse yesterday morning, over 60 million. Because there are four runners, it's over 10 million. This one, over 8 million. The house.
The Commissioner for Health, who was at the scene, explained that the death toll has not exceeded 5, as the recently discovered body parts are undergoing forensic examination.
The report is not yet out. You know, it takes because they have to do the total body X-ray, check that, and they will do the post-mortem. They will now go to type and all that. So we have not gotten any of the reports.
For affected houses within the area, the lead for the emergency medical team assured that integrity tests have commenced and houses with defects would be demolished.
The Nigerian Society of Engineers have their machines, which they brought along, and haven't taken an area view. They can actually tell houses that are 200-300 meters away from the epicenter. But integrity tests is their mandate, and our responsibility is to wait for the reports of whatever they have to offer us.
Lives cut short, properties worth billions of naira have been lost to this devastating incident. And for the survivors who are still counting their losses, the reality of the tragedy that has befallen them will continue to linger. And they hope that the perpetrators of this heinous act will be brought to book. Olaide Oyewole, TVC News, Ibadan.
And that's what we will be discussing this time around. We have joining us now in the studio to share his thoughts on this very ugly incident with which the dust is yet to clear. That is former manager, public and government affairs at Mobil Oil Nigeria PLC is here with us. Aki Fatunke is also the CEO of Chronicler and Associates. It's good to see you again, Mr. Fatunke, especially here in the new year. So happy New Year! Greetings are very much in order.
Very much.
Thank you for joining us.
Very much in order, Kemi. Thank you, and thank you, Emmanuel, for having me here.
Right, and it's an unpalatable news that you will have to respond to. I wonder if you have any loved ones in Ibadan, and I hope everyone is safe.
As a Yoruba man who was actually born in Ibadan, naturally family house in Ibadan, and the Oyelese environment.
It's an area you're very much familiar with.
Very, very familiar, and goes beyond familiarity. For me, things like this takes down humanity. I'm happy in your intro you mentioned my background, ExxonMobil. I'm part of the things that you are taught in oil and gas, not just Mobil, is the fact that incidences like this must happen as part of operations, as part of living. And what you do is try and see how you mitigate. One of the things you therefore do is common knowledge to all corporates and some privates, that is emergency response. You talk of payroll, P-A-R-E-O, public affairs respondents organization. Within the ambit of your operations, within the ambit of your neighborhood, within the ambit of your interactions with states and with our stakeholders. That looks to me that it's gone down the drain. And Kemi, please permit me. Yes, today we are talking about the explosion that ought not to have happened in Ibadan. I like to say, without sounding like a broken record, that those explosions are waiting to happen in all states of Nigeria. Let me say that. Basically, because we have all those laws, we have those who are supposed to guard and see us do those laws, and but we either don't test them, we don't interrogate them, and we then bring them to bear. Two examples will suffice. Not just too long ago, about 1.5 years ago, in the Center of Excellence here in Lagos, we had a gas explosion around Ojo, on the way to Badagry, and it killed people. We saw it, oh my God. And one of the things that happens here is that, oh, sorry, that happened, oh my God, I was not there. In 2005, we had a catastrophe on the air, the Sosoliso crash. And around that time was the fact that, people like you and I were on that plane, saw that plane doing some palongo in the air, got down, and then the only thing we did, thank God I got saved. Saw children in Abuja run into that plane into their deaths in Port Harcourt. The point I am making is that we have the rules, we have the laws, we have operations integrity, which we should know, and I'm happy that Mr. President got into it, and if Mr. President is listening to me, he will smile, because back in our days in Mobil, those are the things that must be. It is not when things go wrong that you now begin to shout Holocaust. And so, I'm also happy that Alhaji Badru has also talked about environmental degradation, environmental. We are even talking, Mr. President also now saying that we should be looking at our forest game reserves. We had one in Oyo State, right, that spread from Oyo up to Niger. So many untoward things have been happening. The best time to do that is perhaps now. Okay. A better time would have been day before yesterday. Maybe best time would have been yesterday. And so we now know all these things are in there. Let's go for it. Let's prevent this. Otherwise, like I said, is a danger also waiting. A hazard waiting to blow.
We'll pray that that danger will not blow in other states. And Mr. Fatwinke, I must appreciate your knowledge of telling us all that has transpired before now. And how can the government be more proactive in nipping in bud such challenges that it will not become a recurring decima in the country, rather than being reactionary in approaches to such ugly incident like what transpired in Oyo State?
Emmanuel, I am going to throw you under the bus a little bit, but for a very good reason. One of the things we must stop doing, I'm a Christian, we must stop praying. We must now start acting. Prayer is good. It will take us to the door. It will not open that door to prevent what is happening. So one of the first things that we need to put in place is, yes, let's pray in private homes, in a private environment, and let's begin to act what prayer says, you before me. So one of the things we need to do is to get into the miscellaneous, explosive act that has been there, comatose, and not being operated. Those laws are there. Can we begin to look at them and take them? And I will say this in an inverse way, and take them out of that exclusive list. Emmanuel, it's also true that I am afraid the constitution that we have needs to be totally devolved. If the mining and firearms and explosives are all contained under who should get what, how to get it, how to store it, how to take away the middlemen and the criminal elements, and we take our eyes off it because of the big C in the room, which is corruption, and the fact that we just refused to want to obey our laws. We must now look at it very critically. If we don't want it to happen again, no prayer, no wishes will take that away. The third thing that we need to do, which I need to openly comment here, is there are also ways and means of, call it accidents, okay, maybe this is a deliberate accident. We knew it was going to happen. I'm afraid perhaps another one is going to happen in the air. Perhaps another one is going to happen on the roads. Those trailers transporting fuel here and there, they happen quite often, and there are turnarounds. We need to put operations integrity. We begin to test them. We begin to audit them. In my days in audit, Coopers and Library, now PricewaterhouseCoopers, we issue opinions, and we get management to commit into security operations, noise decibel level, chemical levels that are being stored here and there. And thirdly, can we, if we do the devolvement, now look at this constitution and allow states, maybe they are being allowed, and allow the local governments, and allow the world level to get into the nitty-gritty of some of the things that happen. At Oyelese Street, it is not possible for you to say we don't have a CDA or a landlords association. Have they been up and doing? Okay, if they have been up and doing, I belong to a CDA, and I can tell you for free. I know Kebi is nodding her head. Maybe it's resonating with her, and it's resonating with a lot of our people. You have just around, and you see warehouses just coming up. Within residential areas, what do you store in there? Have you inspected? In my own CDA, just not too long ago, we just started hearing, perceiving terrible smell. And by the time we were now going to get into it, and the police must get to learn about this, we went to the local government. How did this? Local government had no idea. We went to the police. Unfortunately, we had compromises. When those compromises come, and what I am getting from this Dastard Act is, it does not matter, and that's why we have the NGOs, that's why we have the media, that's why we have, just see something, say something. We must make sure we do that. And finally, let us find a way to reward. There are good people in this country. There are good people, but they are losing their steam. They see something, they say something. Those are the kind of people that we should reward. And make sure we adequately punish those who are deviants.
I'm talking about punishment now. In the Oyo State incident, a certain Sawani Yusuf has been, named as, the main suspect who allegedly had a major role to play in the incident. He's said to be an illegal miner. He's said to also be the president, funny enough, of the Oyo Miners Association. Just like you have said, the governor immediately also swung riding on that stance, the issue of if you see something, you say something. As residents of particular areas, of any areas, we should all be vigilant to talk about strange incidents, to let the authorities know about strange incidents. But what are your expectations in this regard? Because unfortunately, at least 5 people have been killed. Several others are in hospitals with varying degrees of injuries, and a committee has been set up. What are your, recommendations in this regard that, hopefully after this, or this will be the last, of such ugly scenarios?
Kemi is by realistically saying to myself and saying to government, please don't let us chase shadows. Cause and effect. Yes, the name you mentioned, Sawani, was he actually operating in Nigeria illegally? Who gave him the license? He eventually became the chairman of
the president of the
president
Miners
in
Association in Oyo State.
Nigeria is a place where you can just come, land, people don't know your coordinates, and you suddenly become that. It will be chasing shadows, in my opinion. We must go from bottoms up. I am aware that the Oyo State government applied to the Federal Ministry of Mines, and they were granted as one of the states, Ibadan specifically, where you could trade in gemstones. Gemstones, it's all over the place. You go to Ojo, go to Botija, they are all there. Now, when the law stipulates who should get water, like the Malian that you said, he naturally must have a magazine. A magazine is a storage where you are supposed to keep these things under STP, standard temperature. And you should not keep it over and above certain measures.
But obviously not in a residential area, no matter where you store it. A residential area is a no-no.
I mean, should you have churches and mosques and shrines in residential areas? Should you? These things don't happen, but in Nigeria, we do it in the inverse. And so if that has been given, how has it been monitored? Oyo State last year gave an executive order 216 to say, look, you see something, say something, hotline, tell Mr. Governor, and we're not talk of Mr. President, But security is everybody's business. It's as much your business, Emmanuel, as mine, Aki. And the more we run away and are now looks to me like we are looking for.
But Mr. Fatunke,
for somebody to nail will not help
the Bodija area is a particular area in Oyo State where we have the elites. Is it that the elite cannot come out and question or query such acts in that particular area where you have the educated people? Are you not worried about this trend in that particular area in Bodija, in Oyo State?
Emmanuel, you just hit it right on the head. How much of it do we really care about? Whether elite, whether middle class? I'm also surprised. In there, you had former deputy governors, you had professors here and there. We have created Nigeria into silos. So, I mind my business, it's me and I alone. My family.
Many of them were even quoted as saying they were not even aware that, such a thing was housed.
In this wise will not be an excuse. Tell me, there are so many things you are not going to be aware surrounding where you stay. There are many things, it's easy for, talk is cheap, that I may not be aware. But have we done a bit of a population census? Who is living where and what have you? And when we do the CDA meetings, do the elites come for the meetings the way they should come? I know in Lagos, it's a very great and superb example that you can always quote and see. Do you come? Do you pay your dues? Are you part of the security apparatus? Somebody comes into your neighborhood. Tell me, I'm guessing, like Emmanuel, that you're a Christian. You see how they do it in churches? You come in, they welcome you. Where do you live? They take your coordinates. They take. CAC has coordinates of all this. And remember what happened at Oyelese. When this was going to happen, and this is the mindlessness, we can sit here and be throwing stones at authorities, and they need to be throwing stones at. But those of us, some people saw smoke, and the first thing they do was to try to find a way to save their head. Did you press the emergency number, if those emergency numbers are working? Did you press the emergency respondents? Do you test as a CDA that should, in case certain things happen, again, Lagos State comes into being. There is this to and fro concerning residents association and CDAs and putting, what do you call it, bars and barriers. And that handsome commissioner for the environment is saying some of those things must go. And the resident association are saying, yes, they must go, but we want to have alternative. So we must now get ourselves together. And Kevin, one final thing.
Right.
I mentioned payroll. I want to acknowledge the efforts of the governor of Oyo State and the governor of Lagos State, but there is a learning here.
The lessons from
coming out and saying they are illegal miners and stuff like that should not be the process. Lagos State also did something similar, the Magudo, and the governor came out, and then, you know, I mean,
but it's day 5. It's day 5 of this particular incident in Oyo State.
We have to end
the response. Emergency.
We have to end this, Emmanuel. We have to end this now. We've run out of time. Totally.
I agree with you. So
Mr. Fatuke,
they must listen to the experts, whether it's security, whether it's communication. Mr. President, Mr. Governor, Mr. Local Government, you are not going to be the first responder, because if you are taken out on the line of activities, all is lost. Let's do that process. Let's do things the way it is done elsewhere, and we are going to get on their final point, my commiseration to all those who have lost their lives and those who are in trauma as we speak.
Absolutely. It's indeed an unfortunate incident. We hope for their speedy recovery, those in the hospital and those who have sadly, passed away. We pray for them to find eternal rest and comfort, indeed, for their loved ones. CEO, Chronicler, and Associates, Akin Fatunke, thank you very much for your contributions on the program this morning.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Emmanuel.
Thank you.
All right, still on TVC Breakfast Saturday. We hit the streets this time around.